IRR doesn't pay your bills. Cash flow does. It doesn't cover payroll. It doesn't reduce your stress. And it definitely doesn't give you control. But people throw it around like it's the only number that matters. And if you don't understand what it actually means, you could be sold into something that looks good on paper and feels terrible in real life. Today, we're fixing that. Welcome back to Real Talk with Katie Kim. This month's theme is focused literacy, specifically focused financial literacy. And today, we're talking about something that trips up even the smartest business owners: financial language. Not because you're not capable, but because most of this language was never taught in a way that actually makes sense. So what happens? You sit in conversations. You hear terms like IRR, cap rate, returns, and you nod. Not because you fully understand, but because you don't want to look like you don't. And that's the moment where people lose their power. So today, we're breaking it down. Simple, clear, no fluff. Because you don't need to be an expert. You just need to understand enough to protect your position. So let's start here. Confusion is not an intelligence problem. Let me repeat that. Confusion is not an intelligence problem. It's a language problem. These terms, IRR, cap rate, equity multiplier, rent multiplier, they're not hard because they're complex. They're hard because they're used without context. And sometimes they're used strategically to make something sound better than it is. That's the part no one says out loud. So if you've ever felt like I should understand this, but I don't fully, you're not behind. You've just never been showed how to translate it into real life. So let's talk about IRR. IRR stands for internal rate of return. Here's the simple version. IRR is projected return over time. Keyword, projected. Second keyword, over time. It assumes a lot of things go right. It assumes timelines hit. It assumes exits happen. It assumes performance matches projections. But here's what IRR does not tell you. It does not tell you how much money you're actually receiving along the way. It does not tell you what your day-to-day experience looks like. It definitely does not tell you if you're going to be putting money in instead of taking money out. The IRR trap. Here's where people get caught. A deal shows high IRR, high internal rate of return, looks impressive, feels sophisticated, sounds like a win, but what's actually happening? No cash flow or minimum cash flow. So now you're in a position where you've invested capital, you're waiting on future outcome, and in the meantime, you might be contributing more money to keep a deal afloat. That's not passive, that's pressure. And if you didn't understand that going in, you didn't choose that. You inherited it. Many times I get real estate flyers from real estate agents, national brokers that tout high IRR. Oh, this deal's so good. It has a great IRR, da, 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 da. But when you start to break down the deal, there's a lot of assumptions. And if those assumptions are based off of unrealistic market factors, then that's an unrealistic IRR. And if you do not know how to calculate IRR, if you don't know how to do your due diligence, and you don't know how to vet the details in the deal, you could be sold a high IRR opportunity and be contributing high amounts of cash along the way. And those, a lot of times, are the deals that look good with those initial numbers that are being fed to you. And if you don't do your due diligence, you could get caught contributing a lot more money than you think. I've been in the rooms where the numbers looked incredible, and numbers don't lie. but they can absolutely mislead if you don't know what you're looking at. So let's simplify this. Cash flow is real money coming into your pocket, not projected, not future, not dependent on an exit. It's what supports your business, your lifestyle, your peace of mind. I want you to think of cash flow equals control. Because when money is coming in consistently, you get to make decisions from strength, not from pressure, not from waiting. Now, this doesn't mean every deal has to be cash flow focused, but it does mean you need to know if it is or if it isn't, and if you are okay either way. All right, cap rate. Let's hit cap rate quickly. Cap rate is one that a lot of investors will come and ask me, what's the cap rate on that? What's the cap rate on that? I need this much of a cap rate. I'm looking for this deal with a cap rate. Great. That's awesome. A cap rate is a snapshot. It tells you how a property performs right now based on income. It does not tell you future appreciation, financing structure, hidden cost. So again, is it useful? Yes. Is it the complete picture? No. And this is the pattern. Every number tells a story, but no single number tells the whole story. So how do you start asking better questions? You can ask for multiple data points, multiple numbers, the IRR. How did you calculate it? What assumptions did you make? What's the cap rate? What's the cap rate of the last 3 years? What's the rent roll? What are your expenses? What are the expenses and the rent roll for the last 3 years? Did they just lease up a development and now they're trying to sell it? Okay. Is it a good assumption that now that they've leased it up, it will stay leased? Or what would your vacancy be on average over time? Then you can run different projections, different numbers on that data or on those projections or assumptions. A lot of times you'll see people lease up a property to get that cap rate high and then put it up for sale, which is not a bad thing. But now you need to understand, are those long-term tenants? Are they month-to-month tenants? Are they 6-month tenants? And that's where the rent roll can give you more information, can give you more details into that cap rate, into that IRR, into that cash flow. Asking more questions, vetting, and doing your due diligence gives you more insight. It gives you clarity. And that's the clarity shift that I want you to have. Same types of deals, different level of clarity, different results. If you're in a conversation about a deal, ask this: where does the cash flow come from? When does it start? What happens if projections don't hit? Am I ever required to contribute more capital? That's a big one. I'm going to repeat that. Am I ever required to contribute more capital? A secondary one on this, I would add, who is responsible for the loan? Who is guaranteeing the loan? Where's the loan recourse coming from? Who gets paid first? And here's the big one. How does this actually make me money in real life? Not on paper, in real life. Next, let's talk about the timeline trap. This is subtle, but important. A lot of deals look great over 5, 7, 10 years. But where are you right now? Especially if you need stability, if you need clarity, if you need control, not just long-term upside. So before you say yes, ask these questions. Does this support where I am right now? Or is this forcing me into a position I'm not ready to carry? Different deals have different timelines, have different strengths, and there's no right or wrong answer at any point in time. It's only if it's right for your situation, for your clarity, for your control. So this episode is not about avoiding deals. On the contrary, this is about entering into them with your eyes wide open. Because once you understand how these numbers actually work, you stop being impressed by language and you start asking better questions. And better questions lead to better decisions, and better decisions lead to real confidence. If this helped you see things differently, good. That's the goal, because you don't need more opportunities. You need more clarity on the ones already in front of you. So if you want to understand where your financial literacy actually stands, take the assessment. It will show you what you can see clearly and where you're still guessing. Because once you start to understand the numbers, you stop being led by them and you start leading with them. Let's go. Before we wrap up, if someone in your world needs this conversation, a founder who's carrying a lot and ready for clarity, send this episode to her. These messages land deeper when we share them. And if you're in that space where you know your business can grow, you feel the potential, but the next strategic step isn't fully clear yet, let's talk. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to force a direction. You just need clarity that's aligned with your goals, your numbers, and the life you want to lead. I invite you to book a call with my team. We'll look at where you are, identify the real leverage points, and map the smartest next move, whether that's one of our free resources, a workshop, or deeper support. Clarity creates momentum. Let's get yours. Let's go. The information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. It's not financial advice. It's not investment advice. Real estate development, like any investment, carries risk. Before you make decisions, you should always consult a licensed professional, your attorney, your CPA, or your financial advisor, to name a few, to make sure you're making the right choice for your situation. I'm here to share insights and strategy, but you're responsible for your own decisions, and each situation is unique. So make sure you contact your professional team to give you your specific guidance for your specific case, as each real estate development's different and unique and has its own challenges and opportunities.